I will not delay this moment anymore. I am absolutely delighted and very, very excited to welcome back on stage Christian Mwamba, who, as I mentioned earlier, is a senior cloud advocate here at Microsoft. And then we're thrilled to have Gwen join us today as well. Christian and Gwen have actually been live streaming during the month of September as part of Serverless September every Friday. So you're gonna have like an entire history of streams that the two of them have created. But I'm particularly excited to have Gwen join us here. She is an Azure MVP and an independent cloud consultant, and I cannot wait for them to share all of this amazing goodness and kind of follow along with them during this workshop. Over to you, Chris and Gwen.
Thank you,
Awesome.
Simona.
Thank you. Fantastic intro.
Yeah, I know. Gwen, how are you feeling? Should we do what we do best again?
Of course, dynamic duo. Let's do the magic, my friend.
Yes. For everyone listening, please join me to welcome Gwen. Gwen is my partner in crime when it comes to everything content and streaming and stuff like that. Hi, Gwen. Do you want to tell people more about you before we get started?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm very glad to be here. This is actually like my first conference, even though it's digital. I'm actually a lot happier that it's digital because if not, I would be a complete mess right now. But yeah, like Simona mentioned, we've been doing a couple of live streams this past month. So I've gotten to know you and I've gotten to learn from you and learn a lot of serverless stuff too. And yeah, I mean that's me. I'm super excited to get hands on here.
Yeah, and you finally convinced me to learn .NET.
I did. Fine.
Yeah.
Everybody make note of that. He finally said he's going to learn .NET.
just a little to be able to join like the whole Azure, like all this business in Azure, not
Yeah.
like. So, but speaking of languages, so for everyone tuning in, we are going to do something very interesting. We are going to refactor a JavaScript Node.js plus Express based API to serverless. But that doesn't mean that if you're not a JavaScript developer, that this is not for you. This is more like if you don't, it's not about like the hands-on experience, even though it's a workshop. It's also about the process. You basically watch us like live, try to move a code written in a monolith application to a serverless setup. So kind of if you're like a C# developer, Ruby, Python, whatever is your jam, what you can basically do is watch how we refactor this, and then you can basically apply those principles to what you are going to do for your own languages. So it doesn't matter what language you're using, you can just like pay attention and learn. For everyone who can write JavaScript, feel free to follow along. We'll be a little bit faster because of time, but feel free to follow along, and you can always watch the videos if you get you lost.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, and I'll be monitoring the chat since this is a workshop. Gwen and I'll be monitoring the chat. So if you have any question, feel free to like drop it in the chat. We'll be answering the chat live. We'll be answering those questions live. It's like our regular stream. So cool. So Gwen, how is this going to work? I know you promised to teach me how to do this, because I have no idea what I'm going to do today.
Right. So we are basing this workshop on a Microsoft Learn module that is available for everyone to use. It's free pretty much. And it gives us a good getting started project that we're going to clone. And then we're going to take a look at the project and do some refactoring pretty much. And like you mentioned, there are some sections that we are either going to summarize or skip due to the time constraint, but we're going to try our best to cover the most important stuff. And I would also recommend on your own time going through this module so you can really take advantage of all the bells and whistles that are available for you to learn from there.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, so are you able to see my screen now? Let's head to the Learn module. Can you see my screen now?
No. Oh, yep. Right now I can. There we go.
Okay, you can, right? Okay, cool. Let's see. Let's hide this notification. Cool. Let's do this. So for everyone in the chat, this is the Learn module we'll be going through. So feel free to head to this Learn module and follow along. I'm going to drop this in the chat just in case you want to grab it from the YouTube chat. Yeah. So the cool thing about learn modus is that even if you get lost, you can just like read the content and like catch up with us. So
Yes, of course.
yeah, cool.
Ready to get
So
started?
yes, let's get started. So let's start off, let's start with like asking you. We already covered what this is, but why would we want to do this? Why would we want to refactor a monolith app next to a serverless app?
Yeah, why would we want to switch this over to a serverless model? I think
Yeah.
there's sort of like three key parts here, which is one, what coming from I'm primarily an infrastructure person, so no server maintenance. I can't tell you how happy that makes me. Of course, you also have the cost reductions because you're not paying for anything like idle time,
Yeah.
and then you
Mhm.
have more time for back to your team to really focus on the business logic versus like all the configurations of the server and such. And of
Yeah.
course, scaling. You know.
Yep. And I know for you as a consultant, it's easier for you to use serverless and then know that like the clients don't most times don't pay for maintaining the servers when they are already live. So yeah,
Yeah.
like okay, this
Yeah.
is serverless is
Definitely.
it's going to do all of its things and I'm going to go find new clients.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Good point.
And speaking of prices, like that's my favorite demo I used to show people.
Oh,
Do you
here
think I
we
should
go.
show it? so so everyone, I have this my favorite demo I like to show, and Gwen is tired of seeing that demo. It's how it shows how cheap serverless is. And if you want to see the demo, just go to your search and search for Azure pricing calculator. Then click whatever first thing comes out. This is me trying to demonstrate how cheap Azure functions are. Now click on Azure functions. Once you get to the calculator, it will be added to the view. Then scroll down. Cool. So let's see. So you will start with, of course, you have a basic memory, which is usually fine, and the execution time is 100 milliseconds, which is usually fine too, unless you are doing like a huge like heavy lifting kind of stuff. But then let's say for every month you want your users to make a total of 10 requests to your API. This doesn't cost anything. Let's go an extra mile and add an extra 0 to that, which is 100 executions per month. That still doesn't cost you anything. Now let's add one more 0 and make it 1,000 executions per month. That still doesn't cost you anything. Trust me, if you are using the Node Plus Express API at 1,000, you're already like having like some dollar bills to pay for. Okay, let's make that 10,000. At this point, we should start paying for these executions. And yeah, it's still free. This is 10,000 executions per month, and it's still free. I've never built a successful app that had more than 10,000 users. So
one day, don't worry.
Yeah. Okay, let's say I take Gwen's pep talk and have some hope and market my product and get like 100,000 users. Maybe that's the point when I start paying for using Azure functions. 100,000 users and it's still 0. I'm still not paying for anything. Now let's try and see what happens at 1 million. At 1 million, this is literally still free. Like at 1 million executions per month, you're still not paying literally anything.
That's a lot.
Yeah, that's it. That's a lot. Like that is enough for me and whatever product I can imagine building right now. But let's say we make this 101 million. This is when you actually start paying for execution. So you have like this is just 2 cents for 101 million executions. So if it's that cheap, let's see what happens at 2 million. That's 2 million, are still paying 0.2. You're still paying 0.2, which is like 2 cents. This is how ridiculously cheap Azure Functions is. So if you're still wondering why you would want to make that effort of moving your Express and Node API to something a little bit more serverless, if none of the things we've listed today convinces you, then this should do the trick.
Yeah, save that money.
Yeah, exactly. And now I feel so like my whole energy for this workshop was towards this demo. Now I've done the demo.
God.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I don't care if the live coding doesn't work. As long as this calculator demo works, I know I've convinced people enough to go and find out how serverless how to migrate Node to serverless.
Oh,
Cool.
great. Well, I'll try to keep your energy up there.
Yeah, okay. Let's talk about prerequisites for 1 second. Yeah.
Of course.
So what should everyone who is following along do if they need to follow up, like if they want to actually get hands-on with us right now?
Yeah. So some knowledge of JavaScript, even though you mentioned that, just like the basics is good enough. Personally, I am not a JavaScript developer. My background is in .NET, but I was able to follow this no issue. So that's pretty straightforward. And then some familiarity with Node.js, Express, Azure Functions, which if you've been watching this, Create Serverless, you've probably learned a thing or two, which is fantastic. And there's some things that you have to have installed. Node.js, Visual Studio Code, the debugger for Chrome, Azure Functions core tools, and the Azure Functions extension. So you can develop locally. I know in the previous session, Jeff and Marie were talking about just, developing local. You get the best kind of experience when you're working with functions. So having these things installed are definitely going to help you.
Sounds good. And it seems like for the outline, we have a lot of exercises and then just few theoretical stuff. So I say we skip the theoretical stuff and just like you since you're going to teach, like show me what to do and I will just be doing it. People will also follow along with that. So if there's anything that needs explanation, we do it while we are working on the exercises. That way we can save a little bit more time and see if we can finish before the time allotted to us. Sounds good?
Definitely. Yeah, let's do it.
Cool. Okay, let's jump to the exercise. Getting started. So Gwen, what am I doing here?
Okay, so since this is a Learn module, they've provided us a Getting Started project. You can actually clone it with that first command in there that says Git clone. Copy that, put it somewhere handy.
Yeah, I'm just going to copy this. And
I hope you cleaned your desktop.
Yeah, I did. Let's paste this. Cool. So let's see if it got cloned. Oh, okay, I'm not
Wow.
I have like a lot of
Chris, I told you.
I have like all these songs like I use when I'm DJing, not listed on my desktop now. Like, okay, well, cool. Yeah, so we can just check if it exists by running ls learn functions. Yeah, so it does exist.
Fantastic. Now we have some dependencies to install. So if you can change directories into that repo that you just cloned, and then you can do an npm.
Okay,
install.
the next thing is to install. Okay, so since the installation will take a little bit longer, let me just open VS Code before we start installing. Let's open this in VS Code before we start installing. Okay. And then while it's installing, we can walk through the code, right?
Yeah, good idea.
Okay, let's
see.
Okay,
this is why we work well. You're efficient.
Well, you too. You are too. Okay. So npm install should start pulling out all the dependencies. So let's jump in and see what we got here. By the way, if Bok is still watching this, Bok influenced me to move my sidebar from left to the right.
I was going to ask you why.
Yeah, I'm still getting used to this, but let me show you why. Like when I saw him do it, it's like it made a lot of sense. Now let's say let's cancel this. Let's say we move this sidebar to okay, I can't remember how to do this. Yeah, I can use the command palette. Let's toggle sidebar position. Let's say it's on the left. Okay. Now, for context switching, let's say I've been trying to like find something very important in this code file, and then I try to hide my sidebar. See how the code jumps around. So sometimes, like, maybe I was looking at this body parser and then hid the sidebar. The body parser jumps to the left a little bit, which kind of distracts me. Now, if I switch this to the other side and do the same thing, like there's no jumping.
Ah.
So, yeah. So that's the trick here.
Interesting. Look at that. I'm gonna do that too.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So all credit to Bok and John Papa for showing me how to do this.
Fantastic.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. We have
the app.
Yeah. So it seems like we have some configuration files, the environmental variables, package.json, and all those stuff. But then we have two very important folders: the
Mm-hmm.
source and the server folder. Yeah.
Right.
So what lives in the source folder?
What is all this? Yeah, this so the front. Well, let's take a step back and talk what the application is. It's a
Okay.
vacation planning app. You can add, remove, sort of like vacations that what you want to go on, and the front end is Angular, but that could have been any of front end frameworks like Vue or React, and isn't really the key part of this module. So we won't really touch on that too much. The back end is where the Node Express app lives, and that's where the API is built on. And that's what we're going to be taking and refactoring to serverless with Azure Functions. We can take a look at what's in the server folder if you want to expand that.
Okay, so for everyone listening, you can see we're entirely skipping the source folder because it's not that important. You can literally like remove this and replace it with a Reactor View app. So what's important to us right now is the server folder. So let's see what's in there. So this seems like the entry point for the Node and Express API, which is very regular for everyone who has done JavaScript Express stuff in the past. Is there any other thing you think we should look at here, Gwen? It seems like there's a routes folder.
Right. So our main focus is in the routes folder and the service
Okay.
folder. But let's look at the routes first. If you click on vacations.routes, that file there, we can see the different endpoints that we're working with. Like we have our get,
Okay.
Which is /vacations post /vacations, our put is /vacations /ID, and then we have our delete as well.
Fantastic. And it seems like we've imported the services here and we're calling the methods and services. So let's see
Correct.
what is in vacation services. Cool. So this seems like it's basically a data service that it imports the data. Right now it's a static JSON data, I think. Yeah, it's just a static JSON data.
Correct.
So it imports the data and basically like returns that data as response. That's all. And if there's an error, it returns an error. That's what each of this is doing. Same with the post and the put and delete, right?
Yep, that is correct.
Cool. Okay, so now that we've made sense of what's going on here, let's head back to the terminal. You can see how our installation is done. Let's see. We need to do a build as well. And while the build is running, basically the build just converts TypeScript to JavaScript and all this good stuff.
Yeah, we can move forward in the Learn module here. Yeah,
Okay,
click that
cool.
drop down. Let's take a look. Let's skip the run just because of time. Let's go to the creator.
Okay, so basically this step is just supposed to run the app, right? There's nothing.
Yeah, as is before refactoring.
Okay, cool. I guess we'll talk about this proxy when we're done with everything.
Yeah, like we'll take a look at the proxy and then the launch config also once we actually execute the.
Okay, cool. Okay, perfect. So let's jump to the next exercise, which is creating an Azure Functions application. Now, since I've started to seem like it's going to be fun.
Yes, now we get to actually work with some code and some functions, of course.
Okay.
Right now, what we're just going to do is create a new functions project, really, and see how that works. So we go back to Visual Code.
Okay. So that means we don't have to go to Azure to create functions. We can do that. We can do all that in the same project that our current front-end app lives in, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So let's close all this. So what do I do?
If you bring up the command palette, that's F1.
Okay. Yeah.
And then you type Azure Functions, create new project. It looks like you've got it there.
Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. We actually want to create a new folder, so we're going to have to browse.
Okay.
Select browse there. And then, here you can create a new folder. You can call it functions.
Okay. So create a new folder here and call it functions.
Right. As long as it's on the same level as server and source, we're good to go. Okay. Cool.
Wait, no, I'm not sure I actually selected the folder. So I'll select the folder, right?
Yes.
And then select. Okay.
Cool.
We're
going to use
what language?
TypeScript.
Okay.
And we're going to skip this for now. We're just creating the project. So like the high level where all of our functions are going to live inside of. So just hit skip for now.
Okay.
And you see that
Cool.
creates the functions folder for us. We could take a look at what's in there.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So it seems like we have like a regular node project with a package.json and other stuff.
Hmm. Yeah. So these are just like the helper files, I guess, before we actually create
Yeah.
the function. All our functions are
Okay.
going to go into this
This
one
folder.
folder. Mhm.
So this is
That is
like
correct.
a huge, this is like a big container, that groups all, like let's say we'll have like 10 functions related to these vacations project. They will all live inside this functions folder, right?
That is correct.
Okay,
You're
perfect.
a great student.
Thank you, thank you. I learned a lot from you during the stream, so this
Oh.
it's easier to. Cool. Okay, let's jump back to the learn module and continue. Okay, it seems like this exercise was quite
Pretty
fast here.
straightforward, pretty simple,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Okay. So the next exercise, it seems like we're going to start creating functions now, right?
That is correct. We're going to be creating an HTTP trigger function. We're going to name it vacation-get.
Okay. So the same palette, right? The same command palette.
Yes. Now you're going to do Azure Functions create function.
Okay. So previously we did create new project. Now we're doing create function,
That is
right?
correct.
So the new project creates the folder with all those helper files, and the create function actually creates a particular function that is related to that project we created.
That is correct.
Okay. So we choose HTTP trigger, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. And I'm guessing that this is because this is an API endpoint that will be we are going to make a request to directly through like an API client or the browser. That's why
Yep.
we're choosing HTTP. Okay. Yeah. So you say we should name these vacations dash
Get. Perfect.
Oh. And
The
we'll use that
authorization level is anonymous.
Okay. Great. So it seems like he created some files to this time. Let's see. So inside the functions folder,
Right. We
we
now have the
here-
vacations-get folder, which is specific to that function that we just created, right?
Cool.
And then we have
And
two
then
files.
yeah, the index.ts, which is like the actual code for the we actually handle the response or the business logic, right?
Yep.
And then we have this seems to be like a configuration file.
Yes, that is correct. And we're actually going to make some changes in both of these files. We can start from the
Okay.
function.json. Since this
Yeah.
is the get endpoint inside of the methods array, we need to make
Okay.
sure that only get is set there.
Okay. So basically, by default, function would be able to serverless function, Azure function, will be able to handle both a get and a post request. But in this case, because we are building a RESTful endpoint, we just want to have like just get in this for this particular function we created.
Correct. We'll be creating more functions later on that'll use the different methods, but we want to make sure each one is corresponding to the correct method.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
setting that to get. Okay. And we do
Okay.
have to add another parameter in here, which is the route parameter. Remember when we reviewed the routes file inside of the node project? It's
Yeah.
expecting the slash
It's
vacations.
vacations. Yeah. So basically we are trying to recreate what we have here, right? So we're trying to like do this.
Correct.
Okay.
And by
So in this,
convention, the route of a function is going to be whatever like the folder is named. So vacation-get.
yeah.
So we can override that with this property here.
Okay, so just to be sure I understand this, if I didn't do this route thing, by default I would get like something like localhost / vacations get would be the route to this to get to this function, right?
Correct.
And then if I wanted to actually like have a custom URL, I would have to use the route parameter in the configuration. And this is
Yep.
interesting. Cool. Okay, so in this case we have a get method to our vacations route. Let's see what's the next thing we should do. Let's head back to the module.
Yes. Let's scroll down a little bit.
Okay.
We're going to have to make some change. Oh, I guess that's the end for this one. I guess we can go into the next.
Okay. So the next one is shift the services to Azure functions.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So I like this one slide a lot because it explains all the refactoring that we're going to have to do, and it's not a lot, which is great because when you think when I think refactoring, it's like we're going to have to take a whole application and change it inside out. In this case, we're not actually going to have to do a lot. Well, it looks like
Okay,
we got a
so
question here.
yeah, let's see. Is Anna is okay, sorry, this is from Simona.
Oh, it says you see a question from Anna. You see a list of vacations displayed in the application. Could you advise, please, where this can be found?
Okay, yeah, I think that's the data folder.
Yes.
Yeah, heading back to, I remember when we showed that there's something in server/services/data.ts. So this is just the static data that you can get all the, you can basically like add more data here if you want.
Yep. That's where the app is getting the information from.
Yeah. Yeah. And then generally, like in a real life application, you would want your vacation service to not talk to this. Instead, you would like have a database connection going on here, and then you're querying and from the database connection. So this is more like a static file to just like make sure like this demo does not go outside of the scope of just serverless functions.
Okay, fantastic. Great question.
Cool. So let's see.
We were talking about the changes that we'll have to make.
Yep.
Yeah, so it looks like we'll have to we'll change the npm package to serve the application. Node uses Express, and then Azure Functions uses a different one, and then we'll have to change the request and response objects.
Yeah. So
from Node to, yep, that is correct.
Okay.
If we scroll down, it gives us the steps that we actually have to do,
okay.
pretty much. Yeah.
So yeah, okay. Says let's start with opening VS Code and copy server/services folder and paste it into the functions folder. Okay.
That is correct.
That is, at least that is not refactoring. That is just copy pasting.
It's my favorite kind of work to do.
Yeah. So it said copy the services folder
and paste it into the
functions.
Yes.
Paste. Yeah. So now we have two folders here. We have the services folder in the functions folder, and we have the vacations get folder, which we created earlier in the functions folder. Cool. Let's see the next thing you want us to do.
Great. Now we have to make some changes inside of that vacation services file.
Okay. Services/vacation.services. This one.
Yes, that is correct.
So because at this point we're importing from Express, which since we are trying to shift away from Express, we need to use the Azure function tools, right?
Yes, that is.
Yep. Okay, so I can see it's asking us to replace this with this, so we can just copy this
copy
one.
Paste.
Yeah, exactly. But then exactly my worry. If we copy paste, that means that because this request and response came from Express. So in that case, there should be a way to, so we can replace all the instances of where we're like referring to Express's request and response with this, right?
Yes.
Okay. Hey, this is fun.
Yeah, it's nice when someone else does like the work for you.
I think this is how all workshops should be taught. Like there's less pressure on the teacher, and the student like enjoys the whole process.
Yeah, very much like kind of like a casual conversation thing.
Yeah, exactly. Cool.
Did you get them all? Yeah, looks like you got them all.
Yeah, got them. Yeah. So if you're getting this error, don't worry about it. Because we haven't installed this npm library. If we install it, this error will go. As a matter of fact, we don't have to install it at the end. There's already a script set up for you that once you try to debug this at the end, it automatically install it. So when we get to the end of the towards the end of the workshop, we'll figure this out.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Next up. Let's head back to so this gives us what the code should look like after we apply all the changes. And since you already did that, we should be good to go here.
Okay, so we need to now refactor the route.
Right, so now we get to actually manipulate the index file that was created for us when we created the vacations-get function.
Yes,
so you can copy this. Yeah,
Okay.
we're just going to replace that code pretty much.
So the index.ts code, yeah.
Yes, we're just going to
Okay,
erase this.
so what's I can see what's going on here. Basically, we are importing this service we just copied over to this functions folder, right?
Yes.
And then we are calling a method from that service called get vacation. So basically, this will return use vacation service to, correct me if I'm wrong though, this will use this service to fetch all the vacations and then return it as a response once we visit this API. Is my assumption correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And this will work because we made those changes that we did in the previous step.
Okay, sounds good. Okay, so is it time to test yet, or do we still have some things to do?
Not yet. We've only created the get endpoint. We still have post, put, and delete. But the good news is creating these other functions are pretty much following the same steps.
Steps. Okay. So
Yeah,
we'll just be changing the names. I can see they're changing the names vacations dash post, and it seems like it's going to be dash put, yeah, and dash delete as well. Okay.
Yep.
So let's do some fun repetitive work. so, so create function, HTTP trigger,
Correct.
vacations post, right?
Yes.
Hit enter, still anonymous, and it gives us this file. We'll close
Okay.
it for now. Go to function.json.
Yes.
Instead of get now, we are doing post, right?
Yes, because it is the post endpoint.
Yeah,
And
and
now,
since it's a different method, we can still use the same route, right?
Mhm.
So if it's a post route, it would come to this and to this. If it's a get request, it will go to the other one, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did I get all these steps right? Did I miss anything? Oh, I think I still need to paste.
Right.
Like
We
the
still have
post.
some code that we need to replace there.
Okay. So this seems here. This is the post vacation one. So yeah, everything basically is just repetitive. You just copy paste.
Right.
Cool. So the only thing that differs from between this and this other one is that this is just calling get vacations and this is calling post vacation. That's all. Awesome.
Right.
Okay. So let's close this out and move on to the next one. Let's do the put one. Let's do create function once more. HTTP trigger vacations dash put, right?
Yes.
Still anonymous. Close this. Start making a song from these steps. Then go to functions.json. Then cool. So this is interesting. This time, what do we do here? Since we're not getting or putting, we're not getting or posting. Should we use the put method here? Is that?
Yeah. You
Okay.
should be able to just put in there, and
Okay.
and you're good to go. The route is going to be a little different. Can you tell me why?
Let's see. Okay, so my wide guess is that usually it would have been it should be in Express. I would do something like this vacation slash maybe like something like this for Express. But I don't know if it's in Azure functions. But I know that we need to specify the actual thing we need to remove from the database, right?
Right. Or in this
Using a
case,
parameter.
yes. In this case, we need to tell, yeah, this is the, thing that we're putting in, right? So we
Okay.
need something to identify it. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's like you mentioned, an ID. If you go to the learn module, it actually tells you what's going to be different here. I think it is step 8.
Yeah. That's step 8. So it says vacation. So in Express, this the difference is if you open the Express file, let's see, route slash vacation. You can see in Express it's something like
Right.
this. So for everyone who is very used to Express, for parameters, for dynamic parameters you use colons, then ID. In Azure function, you just put it in a curly braces.
Curly brackets. Oh, braces? I thought it was
Yeah,
curly
brackets.
brackets.
That's one of those tomato. I don't know which one. So, cool. If any chat can let us know the correct one, whether it's braces or brackets.
Okay, great.
Awesome. So last one, I'm guessing the delete one would look like this. Oh, okay, I need to copy. I
The
don't know why
index.
where I'm always rushing to.
Slow down, slow down.
Yeah, I can't wait to go test it and this
Get to
kind
the
of thing
fun
when
part.
you, yeah. Cool. Okay, we've pasted and it's basically just the only thing that's change is just calling the put vacation method, right?
Yep.
Awesome. Okay, so let's head back to this and do the last one, which is delete.
One more.
Yeah, one more. It's like when you're at the gym and your instructor is like, you just have 2 more to go. Just keep pushing.
Yeah. Same exact thing. Gym, lifting weights, writing code.
But trust me, for developers, like repetitive code, like repetitive processes, it's more painful than than being at the gym. So yeah. Yeah. So make this anonymous still.
Yes.
And go to the
Good function.
functions.json and change this to delete.
You got a rhythm going, right?
Yes, and then add a route parameter and then add vacations.
Whoa. Type there. There you go.
Yeah, okay. Then slash ID still, right?
Yes.
I wasn't having too much fun and then I missed a step, and then which was going to lead us to like have a very terrible experience when we are debugging. Okay, cool. Let's fix the index.ts up. So we're just going to copy this and also paste it here as well. Yep, we got to the end of this. This is exciting. We've done all the refactoring. Is that so?
Yes, we have created all the endpoints. We can take a second to summarize what we've done.
Yep.
You see we have the vacations delete, vacations get, vacation post, and vacations put, and there's a function for each one of those. We've made sure to change the methods that they use inside the function.json file, and we've also updated the routes that they use so it can match what the Node app is expecting, right?
Okay, cool. So the one thing I think we should do before we debug this is that when like with the proxy part I talked to you about, I know we skipped it, so we can take a look at it now. Not this one, sorry.
The proxy
This one.
config.
Yeah.
Yes.
So so I'm guessing what's going on here is that this is me. This is one of those times where I try to like guess something and then I'm trying to weigh how much smart I am. So correct me if I'm wrong. so, so I'm guessing what's going on here is that the Angular app is running on a different port. If I can remember when I did Angular usually runs on port 4200. By the way, shout out to John Papa for this commit. This is this is US, yeah. But yeah, so it's running on 4200. So which means that we are saying that if anything happens at localhost 4200 slash API, please forward all those requests to this URL here. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yay! Yeah, I like when I guess these things right. Okay, cool. But I don't think 7070 though is the port that serverless function start. I know serverless function starts at 7071. I guess this was like the one they were using in Node, right?
Right. So this is set for when you're running it with like Angular Node.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I can see it seems like, yeah, the port for Node is 7070. So, which means we would need to change this because it wouldn't work unless we change to 7071, which is the Azure Functions port, right?
Yes, that is correct. We need to make sure the requests are going to the correct place.
Yeah, okay, cool. So, Gwen, are you happy with this whole refactoring? Is there something we are missing?
I think we've covered everything, but just to be safe, we could check the Learn module. Let's see if there's anything we've missed there. We've covered all this. Want to go into the next unit?
Okay. So the next unit actually wants us to the next exercise, right?
Do you want to check review your Azure Functions application just in case?
Okay.
This is probably just summarizing what we've done.
Yeah. So we created an Azure function. We created an Azure function application. We created a function for every route endpoint. Check, which it did. We set the method for each endpoint. Check, we did that. We named each endpoint in the function.json. Check, we
Mhm.
did that. We copied the Node.js Express service. Check, we also did that. We imported functions host context from Azure Functions. Check, we did that as well. We used the structuring to access the request and response objects. Check, we did that as
Correct.
well. So yes, if anyone who is wondering what this structuring is, it's basically this stuff. So when you do this in JavaScript, it's called destructuring. Yeah, and then we added code to each function to call the appropriate service. Yes, we did
Right.
that when we edited our index.ts. So right
Yes.
now we have all these routes, vacation ID, right?
Yes. Looks like we
Cool.
covered everything.
Yeah, and our file structure looks exactly the same. We have the delete, get, post, puts, and services, right? For functions.
I think we're ready. We're ready to rock and roll.
Okay, let's go debug this thing. Let's take it with let's go for a test drive. Cool. Okay. Yeah, we can set a breakpoint. Let's see. It's asking us to set a breakpoint in the services for get vacation method in services.
Mhm.
Now, for anyone who has never tried, sorry, not here. Let's try because we are not hoping that we'll get errors. We are hoping that it actually succeed. So let's let's add a breakpoint here. Right? Yeah. So for anyone who uses VS Code and is not using VS Code debugger to debug your code, they are missing out. You are missing out a whole lot of opportunities. Like if you are not doing that, you might as well just like not use a code like VS Code at all. But yeah, but yeah, it's like it's the best thing ever. You're going to see like if you've tried this, I know you are used to this magic, and if you're like me, it's still amazing to me. If you've never used VS Code to debug, we're literally going to use VS Code to open our app in a browser, and from that browser, actually like add breakpoints and still see if we can hit those breakpoints. Should we try this, Gwen?
Yeah. Do we want to double check the learn module? Make sure we've got everything we.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we've set the breakpoint, and yeah, we oh let's should we take a look at
Oh,
the
the
show people what?
launch.json.
Yeah. Cool. So these files are very important for debugging. If you open the launch.json, it's basically like instructs VS Code on what to do when when you run a debug when you click on the debug button. So basically, in this case, we're saying use Chrome to run and to open the app. But before doing that, run npm start, which would open this port in Chrome, kind of. So the same thing with Node. Basically, like saying we should run the scripts in the terminal and launch Node, right?
Yep, that is correct. And all this is provided to us thanks to the repo that we cloned.
Yeah, exactly. So exactly. So if you try to do this on your own, you have to maybe like look at this repository, look at this code, and see. Just copy some of this configuration if you want to debug a front end app, and for this one, just copy this one to debug a Node app. That's all.
Right.
Cool. Okay, let's do this. Let's go try to run this. Right. Let's see.
What does it say? Let's double check. All right. We already changed the proxy
Proxy
config
stuff.
to 7071.
Yeah.
And
so debug both applications. We need to open VS Code, and then since from the debugger, we have to select the debug functions and Angular, so it can run the two projects together, right?
right, we have to make sure we're selecting the correct configuration. So if you hit the yes, that is correct.
Yeah, so if you're following along, this is the debug tab. So if you click on it, you can see by default it asks you to launch Angular, which will only launch the front end app. You could launch Node and Node alone. You could just do functions alone. You could also do both Express and Angular. But in this case, since we've done functions, we want to debug both functions and Angular. So we want to start both apps together. So if we click on this, click play. Let's keep our fingers crossed that this works.
That it hits the breakpoints.
Yeah. Even if it doesn't hit the breakpoint, at least it compiles safely because we did a lot of changes. This is like all this kind of changes that you you'll see like, oh, it seems like it worked. Yay! When we did it. Yeah, I don't even care if it's not hitting the breakpoints. We can debug that one later, but at least we are able to launch the debugger from VS Code, and the debugger open the browser, and we can actually start doing some stuff. So let's see. Let's take a look at this the place we added the breakpoints and see if we get here and try. Oh, and try to reload. Oh, see, it
There
hits
we
the
go.
breakpoint. Yeah, so hit the breakpoint, and we can start doing things like inspecting what's the value of requests, and right. Okay, let's step into the next one. Yeah, we can start like checking like the yeah, you can see for the person I was asking where the data is coming from. Yeah. So you can see this is basically like the same data that comes in from the data.ts file that we have here. So you can start taking a look at this and having some insights on what is going on in your code. And once you're done, you can always exit by clicking continue, and this would basically reload your site, your browser. Cool.
Yeah, it worked.
When we just take, I think we need a lot of accolades. We just did a live code session and nothing broke. Yeah. Cool. Would you still have time?
I think we have a few minutes.
Okay, so this is off script, but let's see if we can take this quiz and see if we get them right. Let me.
Got a question on screen.
Okay, cool.
Can we put services directory outside of functions? How does Azure identify that services isn't a function, but the rest of the children are?
Yeah. So from my experience, this is a function is qualified as if a folder is qualified as a function if it has an index file where the code lives in as the entry point, and then a function.json that does that signifies hosts the configurations. Okay, and for the services folder, yes, it can. This is just for structure. You can choose for, as long as it's just a node application. So if you remove it out of functions, as long as when you're importing it, when you're doing when you're trying to import services, let's say if it's outside the functions folder, you have to do something like this. So basically, you go one level up.
Update the directory.
Yeah, exactly. So, but generally, it doesn't matter. But for good practices, see functions as the host for all your backend or serverless related logic. But I understand what someone would want to ask this kind of question. Imagine if you had like your back end and your front end sharing the same services, or you have like two different unrelated projects sharing the same services. You would want that to be outside the function. So yes, you can totally do this.
Yeah, good question.
Cool.
Do you want to answer these?
Maybe. Let's see how many I'm going to get. Let's go. The first one says, how would you change the route endpoint for a function in folder named vacations get to vacations? It says, it says the route property in bindings array request object. Yeah, I don't care about the rest, but at least I can see route in this one. So yeah, I think it doesn't show you the answers until you finish it. It's just 3 questions.
Right.
Okay. Where would you find the code in Azure Functions application that runs when an HTTP request is made? Definitely index.ts, right?
Yes.
So route.ts is the one that we saw in Express. Host.json is the configuration. Host and function.json are just configuration files.
Yes.
So how do you access both request and response of HTTP calls in Azure Function? They are the context parameter.
Correct.
So should we check our answers? Are you confident enough?
Yes, I'm so confident. I've never been more confident in my life right now.
Cool. Yeah, we got everything correct.
We passed.
Yeah.
A+.
Yeah, we passed. Yeah. So everyone, let us know if you passed and like if you finish this in the chat. Yeah, I think I can stop sharing my screen right now and we can just
chat. That was fun.
Yeah.
We got
that was super fun, and I'm happy like people were really engaging in the chat as well. Cool. So if there are no more questions, we can end the workshop at this point. And if you have any questions, feel free to head to dev.to. Okay, I'm just going to hand this over to Simona. She will do all her thing. Yeah.
No. How about Gwen shares this?
Okay.
How about that?
Yeah.
All of the amazing links that we have in here. That's what I'm sharing. Yeah.
Where I think you wrote the Dev2 post, right?
That is correct.
Ask me anything. Do you wanna share a bit about that?
Sure. And Dev2, you can see the link right here. Come ask us questions about this if we missed anything. If you want more explanation, or if you want to just talk to us because we're super cool, you can go ahead and leave your comments and questions on that Dev2 page, and interact with us.
I can totally attest to the Gwen and Christian being super cool. I merely I love hanging out with both of them. And like, how did that happen? What kind of magic did both of you do so that everything worked out without any kind of error, and like the very first time? Like what was that?
I think Gwen is a really good teacher. She just knows like how she would tell you to go back and let's check and be sure that everything is working well and make sure that we don't miss anything. Because like I was just having fun and just like running. Yes.
You're giving me too much credit. I would say a big shout out to the team that makes all these amazing Learn modules. They're pretty complete. They have a bunch of exercises. Some have sandbox environments for you to play around with, and really you just kind of have to take some time and follow through them. And there's a lot to learn and a lot to get hands on with. So the credit goes to them and a little bit to us.
Hey, you did a lot of work here. But that was a great shout out.